The disappearance of Madeleine McCann is a case that has captivated and horrified the world for years. It's a story of a family vacation turned into every parent's worst nightmare. A mystery filled with twists, turns, and countless unanswered questions. Let's go back to the beginning. To May 3, 2007, in the resort town of Praia da Luz, Portugal. The McCann family, Gary and Kate, along with their 3 children, 3-year-old Madeleine and her 2-year-old twin siblings, were on holiday with a group of friends. They were staying at the Ocean Club Resort. On that fateful evening, Gary and Kate put their children to bed in their ground floor apartment, number 5A, around 8:30 p.m. They then went to have dinner with their friends at a tapas restaurant located just about 55 meters away. The group of friends, who would later be known as the Tapas 7, had a system. They would take turns checking on the sleeping children throughout the evening. The apartment was visible from their table, though the view of the bedroom window was partially obscured. At around 9:05 p.m., Gary McCann did a check and saw all 3 of his children sleeping soundly. Another friend in the group offered to check on the McCann children when he checked on his own, and he reported nothing unusual around 9:30 p.m. The evening continued, but everything changed at 10 p.m. Kate McCann went to check on the children. When she entered the apartment, she immediately noticed something was terribly wrong. The children's bedroom door was wide open, more than it had been left. The window was also open, and the shutter was raised. And then, the discovery that would change their lives forever. Madeleine's bed was empty. The twins were still asleep in their cots, but Madeleine was gone. Panic set in immediately. Kate ran back to the restaurant, screaming, "Madeleine's gone! Someone's taken her!" The initial search was frantic and chaotic. The friends, resort staff, and other guests began scouring the area, calling out Madeleine's name. The local Portuguese police were called, but the critical first few hours, known as the golden hour in a missing person case, were marked by confusion. The scene wasn't immediately secured, potentially destroying crucial forensic evidence. Border police weren't notified for several hours, a delay that could have allowed a potential abductor to leave the country. Madeleine was a bright, beautiful little girl with a distinctive mark in her right eye, a coloboma, which became a key feature in the global appeals for her return. The news of her disappearance spread like wildfire. The McCanns, both doctors from Rothley, Leicestershire, soon found themselves at the center of an intense international media storm. They were articulate, composed, and relentless in their efforts to find their daughter. They gave press conferences, launched a massive public awareness campaign, and set up a fund to help finance a private investigation. The Portuguese police investigation, led by the Polícia Judiciária, quickly came under scrutiny. Their initial theory was abduction. They looked into known offenders in the area and followed up on hundreds of sightings, none of which led to Madeleine. One of the first individuals to be formally named as a suspect, or arguido, was a British-Portuguese man named Robert Murat, who lived near the resort. He had drawn attention by acting as an unofficial translator for the police and journalists. However, after extensive investigation, he was eventually cleared, and the police later paid him substantial damages for libel. As the weeks turned into months with no sign of Madeleine, the investigation took a shocking and controversial turn. In September 2007, nearly 4 months after she vanished, the Portuguese police declared Gary and Kate McCann as arguidos themselves. This dramatic shift was based on new forensic evidence found in the family's rental car, which they had hired 25 days after Madeleine's disappearance. Specialist sniffer dogs from the UK were brought in. One dog, trained to detect the scent of a corpse, reportedly alerted in several locations, including the McCann's apartment and the trunk of the rental car. Another dog, a blood detection dog, also alerted in the trunk. This led the police to theorize that Kate and Gary had accidentally caused their daughter's death, perhaps through an overdose of a sedative, hidden her body, and then moved it later in the rental car. DNA samples taken from the car were sent to a forensic lab in the UK for analysis. The results were complex and ultimately inconclusive. The lab found that the sample contained components of Madeleine's sDNA profile but couldn't be certain it was a perfect match. The McCanns vehemently denied any involvement. They described the accusations as ludicrous and deeply painful. The Arguido status hung over them for nearly a year, subjecting them to immense public suspicion and a trial by media. Many people struggled to believe that parents could be responsible for such a thing, while others pointed to inconsistencies in their statements and their seemingly composed demeanor in public. Finally, in July 2008, the Portuguese Attorney General announced that there was no evidence to link the McCanns or Robert Murat to the disappearance, and their Arguido status was lifted. The case was officially archived, though it remained open. With the official investigation stalled, the McCanns funneled their energy and the funds they had raised into their own private investigation. They hired teams of former police officers and private detectives who pursued leads all over the world. They kept Madeleine's face in the public eye, hoping that someone, somewhere, knew something. Their motto became, "Don't give up on Madeleine." Years passed. The case file grew to tens of thousands of pages. Numerous theories emerged, ranging from a planned abduction by a criminal network to a burglary gone wrong. The location, Praia da Luz, was known to have issues with break-ins at holiday apartments. One theory suggested that a burglar entered the apartment, was surprised to find Madeleine awake, and panicked, taking her with them. In 2011, there was a glimmer of hope. At the request of the McCanns and the British Home Secretary, Scotland Yard launched its own review of the case, codenamed Operation Grange. This was a massive undertaking. A team of detectives re-examined all the evidence from the Portuguese investigation, as well as the work done by the private investigators. They re-interviewed witnesses and used new technology to analyze phone data and other potential clues. The Operation Grange team brought a fresh perspective. They discounted the theory of the McCanns' involvement and focused on the idea that Madeleine was abducted by a stranger. They identified several new persons of interest and constructed a more detailed timeline of events on the night Madeleine disappeared. They released effits of men who were seen in the area around the time of the disappearance, hoping to generate new leads. Despite this huge effort, which has cost millions of pounds, Madeleine has not been found. The case remained in a frustrating state of limbo until a major development in 2020. German police announced they had identified a new prime suspect, a German national named Christian Bruckner. Bruckner is a convicted criminal with a history of offenses, including crimes against children. Crucially, he was known to be living in the Algarve region of Portugal between 1995 and 2007. Phone records placed him in the vicinity of Praia da Luz on the night Madeleine went missing. A key piece of evidence was a phone call he received that night, which ended just over an hour before Kate McCann discovered her daughter was gone. German prosecutors have stated they have evidence that Madeleine is no longer alive and believe Bruckner is responsible. They have conducted extensive searches of properties and land he used in Germany and Portugal, looking for any trace of her. Bruckner was already in prison in Germany for other crimes when he was named as the suspect. He has denied any involvement in Madeleine's disappearance. However, the investigation into him is ongoing, and it represents the most significant lead in the case in over a decade. Today, the disappearance of Madeleine McCann remains one of the most high-profile and heart-wrenching unsolved cases in modern history. It's a story that highlights the agony of uncertainty, the complexities of international police cooperation, and the relentless power of parental love. Kate and Gary McCann have never stopped searching for their daughter or for answers. They continue to mark her birthday and the anniversary of her disappearance each year, holding onto the hope that one day they will find out what happened to their little girl. The search for Madeleine continues, a testament to the fact that she has never been forgotten. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please consider subscribing for more deep dives into cases that have shaped our world.